Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 released in October of 2025 for PC through Steam and on both the Xbox and PlayStation consoles. Retailing for $60, it took me about 20 hours to beat while doing all the side quests and the main storyline. Featuring a reworked story and a troubled development cycle, Bloodlines 2 has you taking the role of Fire, who can be either male or female, as they travel through modern-day Seattle in search of answers about what happened to them during their time in torpor. So, is Bloodlines 2 worth playing on console? This review is going to answer that question.
Queen City, they used to call it. The gateway to Alaska, the city of flowers. That one never took off. The Emerald City, in the 80s when they were trying to give it a spit shine. Layers upon layers of history, each trying to mask the ones below. But Queen City is not wrong when you dig under the polish. Blue bloods in castles, peasants in the gutter. Same old story with a pretty flag on top. This town's had a queen for a long time.
Let's begin with the graphics and technical performance of Bloodlines 2. For graphics, the game does look good, although the world does feel very small, taking place in a handful of blocks in downtown Seattle during a snowstorm, and only with a handful of characters that you can interact with. But for technical performance, this is where the game is a disappointment. It's buggy, with performance problems, FPS drops, and T-posing characters. One major character T-posed for the entire game, in both cutscenes and out in the real world as well. Then there's the gameplay components that are in the game, but as far as I can tell, don't do anything. Like how people feel about your questions and answers, and the decisions you make. Apart from the handful that will affect the endings, most don't seem to matter at all. The UI is bare bones, and for an RPG, there's no items to equip, and you can only have 4 chosen abilities at once, meaning you need to switch between them. This all means that Bloodlines is more of a first-person action game than an RPG, and it's a janky one at that.
I assume from the smell that you are not another of my unwanted suitors.
I am not with them.
No. Somehow you don't seem the type. Well now, it's not often I see someone new in my city. Tell me your story, and we shall see if we are friends or not.
Let's go into the story of Bloodlines 2. If you've followed its development cycle, you'll probably be aware that the game was set in development hell for a long time, and that it was originally going to have a completely different storyline. It was going to feature a mass-embraced thin-blood vampire in Seattle, but that got reworked in the last 2 years or so to feature an elder instead. This took a game that could have been unique and interesting, although may have missed the mark, who knows, and changed it into something far more safe and generic. You play as the Nomad, who is a centuries-old elder who wakes up in Seattle with no idea how you got there. The Nomad takes the name of Fire after seeing it written on a poster. The Nomad is the most generic protagonist vampire you can imagine. There is nothing about them that stands out or is really interesting, apart from the fact that they're an elder. They have no interesting quirks, no clan banes or habits, and they really could just been a random elder with a customizable appearance and name, for all that being the Nomad really matters. What is far more interesting is Fabian, who's a voice in your head that guides you through the game and is the source of all the clues and answers to the mysteries you're going to find in the story. Fabian is a Malkavian, half crazy, and talks like he's stuck in a detective noir novel. He is far more interesting than Fire, and I would have preferred the game be based on him instead. You end up playing portions of the game as Fabian, albeit as his memories. The plot revolves around Fire walking in modern-day Seattle after a century in torpor, which is vampire deep sleep. She has no idea why she's there, and there's a mark on her hand that keeps her in Seattle and severely weakened. Throughout the game, you pick your clan, and you can either assist the Camarilla or the Anarchs as you try to find out what happened to you and how to fix it. The story itself is fine. It's serviceable, it gets the job done, but it's also part of the rushed development cycle of Bloodlines 2. There are clearly bits left over from the old plot. The game introduced characters at odd times, kills people off screen with barely a mention, and can feel rushed or too slow and convoluted. It's very weird. I got into Vampire the Masquerade with the Redemption game, which had an incredible story. And the first Bloodlines game had a pretty decent story, but it was the choices you could make that made it really memorable. Bloodlines 2 is linear, it provides way too little options on how to approach its story and combat, and it's too bland to make a long-term impact.
Well, if it ain't my favorite gumball.
The gameplay of Bloodlines comes in two parts, walkie-talkie bits and combat. Let's start with the combat. It's terrible. It's so bad that halfway through the game, I turned the difficulty down so I could just get through it quicker. It involves punching people until they're weak, then biting them so you can use your powers again. Depending on which clan you choose, of which there are 6, you have different abilities you can use in combat. You can't spam these abilities as they're required for blood points to use, but they aren't game-breaking. Some freeze opponents, some make you punch faster or stronger, some let you throw things at enemies, etc. But regardless of which clan you choose, the combat will almost always be about just punching people. It's stiff and clunky as first-person melee combat can be. There are no weapons to equip, instead you can use telekinesis to huck stuff at people. The game also has stealth that lets you sneak up and kill people, but it's janky, and once you kill the first person, everyone just attacks you anyway, so you might as well just rush in and kill everyone. Towards the end of the game, combat becomes a slog, because rather than giving you more interesting opponents or different abilities, they just throw more people at you. With limited enemy types, it just becomes repetitive and easily the worst part of the game. Then we have the walkie-talkie bits. Fire or Fabian, if you're one of the memory sections of the game, will walk through slow-moving sections looking for clues or talking to people. As I said before, the questions you ask and their responses will make people like or hate what you say, but as far as I can tell, it doesn't really make a difference to anything. It feels like window dressing for a system that's just not fleshed out and seems like a legacy part of the previous game rather than integral to the gameplay. Fire is meant for punching, while Fabian is geared towards the walkie-talkie bits. He can interact with objects in the same way that only a Malkavian can, making those objects talk to him, telling them their history. He can cloud people's minds, getting them to reveal their thoughts, or letting them through different areas. As I said previously, Fabian is the best part of this game. I would happily have given up punching sections as Fire, and instead just have Bloodlines 2 be a detective story involving Fabian. It wouldn't have been a good Bloodlines game, but it would have just been a good game. Instead, we get this half and half that doesn't really work.
That's not my voice. My mouth it's coming out of either. Well, I know the back of my hand like the back of my hand, and well, that is not my hand.
Who speaks?
So you can hear me. Huh. Well, good evening.
I say again, who are you?
Hand on heart. If I had either of those, I'm still aslumber. Give me a moment.
Very well. Gather yourself, then speak.
Let's go into the pros and cons of Bloodlines 2. For the pros, the game has good voice acting, sticks to the lore of Vampire the Masquerade's universe. I enjoyed solving mysteries as Fabian, and there were some good twists in the main storyline that kept it interesting. The game has well-developed and interesting areas that I enjoyed exploring, and the choice of 6 different clans made some bit of a difference. For the cons, the combat is clunky and terrible, regardless of your abilities and clan. Side quests are repetitive, they involve going somewhere to kill somebody or delivering a package, they're pointless, and they give terrible rewards. You can just skip them with no problem. Performance isn't great, with bugs and glitches along with terrible AI. The game has a system for Masquerade breaches, for example, essentially restricting your vampire abilities on the streets, but people won't react when you land on the ground after falling from a building, so they don't really matter. Bloodlines 2 is just an alright game. Even for a Vampire the Masquerade game, it's not bad. But as a Bloodlines game, that anticipated sequel that fans have waited a long time for, it's disappointing. Bloodlines was known for its dynamic choices, the way you're living through a Vampire the Masquerade session, with crazy clans and abilities. Bloodlines 2, however, is linear, it's a simple action game with bare-bones RPG mechanics. For $60 US, it's just not worth playing, and I would just pick it up on sale for a steep discount. I'm the Casual Console Gamer on YouTube, and I'll see you all in the next review.